I got a list of questions from Dominique's excellent presentation, and I would be happy to start off by questioning, but if there are any questions here that somebody would like to ask first, I'm always much happier to have the audience go. Go ahead. Oh, yes, we should carry a mic over, so maybe we can, if you would, just please identify yourself and who you're with and ask your question. That would be wonderful.
Sure. Lee Richards with Owens Corning. Dominique, that was a great presentation. I like the little video clips that made it come to life more. Question around the remote monitoring I get, and a couple of your examples showed the remote monitoring side. Are you also anticipating doing remote control with this? And if you could say a bit more about that.
Yeah, actually, we made a proof of concept where we used this platform, and we took some operators from one factory, put them in a plane, create a temporary control room in another factory, and we have piloted a full cement plant during 3 days. So I mean, we can from the second example, we can actually control the full factory. So it was as easy as putting a table, a few screens, a few computers, making sure that you have a reliable with a redundancy on the one connection, and it went smooth.
Thanks. And just a follow-up question. This is to follow up on the cybersecurity theme of the conference. Would you expect, since you can do remote control and the technology is available now, would you expect in your role to hire a group of, for example, internal hackers that would try to break the system so that you can actually test how waterproof it is? Would you consider doing that?
No, sure, it's a good idea. Now, today we are more focusing on making the stuff by design very secure. So in the proof of concept, we are using just normal servers, but in the long term, we are preparing a kind of thing that we call plant in a box, made by some IT specialists in Lafarge, where we have several layers of security. The good thing is, because we simplified let's say the architecture to the minimum extent, we can have several layers. You can have traditional layers with firewalls, but you can also have an application level itself. Like if somebody will connect, the first thing you will look is what is his MAC address or his IP address. Look if he's an operator in the control room or not. It's as basic as it is. But so I think it's the addition of different layers that reduce the risk to the minimal extent. This is the way we do. Now to hire hackers, it's probably in another department in Lafarge, so I cannot tell you in details.
I have a follow-up question to that. Being the moderator, I'll ask. Can you talk a little bit about the kind of protocols that you use? And I'm thinking about more procedures. I don't mean communication protocols. I mean the kind of handoffs that you use in terms of plants requesting remote assistance or getting remote assistance. Can you talk about how that usually works inside of your installation?
Here we are just at the beginning, so people are not yet used to use the complete platform, so it's something that is coming on top of things that we are doing currently. So as a matter of example, we have more or less 250 experts, process, automation, mechanical, electrical, that are used to receive direct assistant requests from factories. So there is a big change management to put in place in order for these guys, instead to use very old-fashioned communication tools like emails, etc., to go and have the reflex to go to the platform to have a real-time access. Hope it answered the question.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a comment on that in terms of what maybe your customers are doing in that area, or is that?
Not so much, yeah.
Pardon me?
Not so much on that one.
Okay. I don't know, maybe Keith, if you have any comments on I know your situation is quite a bit different. You're welcome to explain it, but I wonder if you would talk about maybe your reaction to that.
Yeah, I mean, for BASF, I mean, we have a lot of safety and environmental issues that we have to deal with, and the ability to do remote monitoring is there in various different forms across our corporation. But there's no, in reference to your question earlier with BASF, there's no real, depending on how you define remote control, there's no real remote control of entire plants. We do remote control certain aspects, isolated aspects, a wastewater treatment facility on a particular production site that may be, I don't know, maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles distance from the nearest operating unit. But overall, the focus for us on remote monitoring is really stemmed from more in the what benefits us from a safety and an environmental aspect.
Okay.
Yeah, but just one addition to that point. In fact, remote operation is this a target in itself, because I think in the real world you will always need operators to start machines. Maybe only for legal requirement. You can just not start a full factory without any attendee in a control room. So is this a real target? I'm not sure. Now, on the other hand, imagine tomorrow my 150 sites, I can have 2 or 3 experts that will manipulate the advanced process control system for all these sites. This has more sense. So in the end, we can do complete remote control with what we are implementing, but I'm not sure it is a target in itself. It's more acting remotely on some parts, some subsystems of the factory rather than a global remote control. So you can allow by design in the application to accept modification only on a few subparts of your factory, not the whole thing. By doing this, you reduce the risk as well.
Okay, looking for any other questions from, can you just wait for the mic? Can you just wait for a second for the mic? Oh, sorry.
Sir, could you wait for a
Again,
microphone,
we're recording
please?
the session. That's why I'd like everybody to wait
What
for the
type of a
microphone.
process do you use to make sure that your remote operations personnel know that there's an engineering expert in making changes to the system?
As I said just previously, remote operation, and it's not the target today. What we want is to make the information available. So we don't have this need yet. For example, when we made a proof of concept of a remote pilot factory, that was just to show it's possible. We had various communication between the factory and the remote sites, including the voice chat that we have been building in the application itself. Because for me, you look, for example, at video conferencing equipment. In general, you don't have a video conferencing equipment right in the control room of the factory. So if you want to make these guys communicating with somebody that is at 2,000 kilometers, you need to provide something. This is the reason we have built it directly in the SCADA, or in the application server if you want. I think that in the future, if we would go to a real used remote operation, we would have to build a serious system with handshakes and responsibility, maybe a token-based system to know who has the control. Is the local operator or is the remote operator? That would be probably that way.
Looking for another question. If not, I'm armed. Okay? I would ask all three of you, and this is kind of, if you would comment on, Dominique mentioned a particular organization of experts. Could you talk about your support organization? So you have an operation support organization of some expertise. Could you kind of give us just an overview of what that organization is like and how they support? And Keith, the same thing. I know both these organizations are very complex, and I'd be interested to know if you could give people a thumbnail view of how you're providing that operation support now and any direction that you have. And also, we'd be interested to know how Inductive is supporting customers in that regard too, what your support organization kind of looks like. So maybe you want to start, Dominique, because you mentioned that.
So, as I said previously, we have 250 experts. They are located all over the world in 6 different places, like Kuala Lumpur, Montreal, Lyon, Vienna, Cairo, a few things like this. And these guys are covering, let's say, a specific part of the world, but we have also the ability to use the best-in-class expert for something that is not in his original perimeter. So it means we can have any kind of combination between these guys and the location of factory issues. Now, the interesting thing, when you look at what we are doing here in terms of support, it's a good example where we are putting in place now. We are going for one factory that is in serious crisis. We are going to have 24 assistants, remote assistants using the platform you have seen, using various people in various time zones. So we'll get a 24-hour coverage of super experts without asking people to work at night or doing some shift. So this is a kind of new way of assisting factories.
Keith, you want to talk about that? I've heard some interesting things about your organization that way
Sure,
too.
sure. I just got to say though, Harry, I just never expected to hear an example used with Bitcoin earlier in the industry forum. I'm still floored on that one right
Let's
now.
not get that out of the room. Let's just keep that in the room here, okay? I would like to stay employed for the next year, so please just keep that hush-hush.
From BASF standpoint, all of our experts are in Ludwigshafen in Germany. The rest of us just do stuff.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, everybody was sleeping in the room. I thought I'd try to wake them up a little bit.
That's what they say.
Yeah, Team, is Andreas in the room? No, okay. Yes, that is correct. No. We have pockets of experts across the company. You got 3.5 of them sitting right there. Half is Tim because he's actually located in Germany right now. So, but we have pockets of them across the globe, and this is actually something that's kind of near and dear to my heart because one of the things that I presented a while back is the remote diagnostic capability in our company, and the capability of, I called it having a white canvas where I can have, let's just use rotating equipment. I can have my best rotating equipment expert sitting in Ludwigshafen and my best one in North America looking at a problem on a pump, and they both have real-time data on this whiteboard in front of them. So they're looking from everything from impeller sizes to motor sizes to anything, feed voltage, anything that can impact the operation of that piece of rotating equipment. That's, for me, is a focus, and I guess it centers around whatever you want to call it, whether you want to call it industrial Internet of Things or if you want to call it big data, or what I like to call it is just using the data that we currently have that we don't use. Right now, we do a lot of sharing of that expert network because, of course, we're spread out all over. So we use a lot of teleconferences and video conferences to try to share information, but it's real hard. If I'm the expert sitting, and I'm not an expert, but if I'm the expert sitting in North America and I have somebody in Asia contacting me and they want me to help them with an Emerson Delta V system problem they're having, I'm kind of hard pressed to try to figure out exactly what's going on a video conference. So I would like to have the same view the guy that's calling me has in order to be able to help him. And that's kind of the focus of where we're trying to get right now. With getting that data, I call it data to the right person at the right time.
You're totally right. One thing we are doing in our pilot is to make a copy-paste of the local SCADA. So it means when you have a phone conference or whatever, the people actually, they see exactly the same thing. And this is a critical point you highlighted there.
Travis, can you talk a little bit about your customer support or remote support operation within Inductive?
Yeah, sure. So from a vendor perspective, of course, we want to support our end users and our integrators as best as we can. And we want to utilize our experts to their fullest. Within our organization, we have a lot of processes in place to make sure that our tech support staff as well as our developers have a direct line to each other so that we can respond to problems very quickly. So our experts can serve the world, just like what Dominique's doing with Lafarge, being able to do remote troubleshooting. Of course, that's what we do. We practice it every day using like GoToMeeting and video conferencing and things like that with our customers. And if there ever is an issue that comes up, for our organization, it's really important for us to be agile and to respond very quickly to that so that we can get that particular problem addressed quickly and that they can continue on with what they're working on.
I'm going to twist Keith's arm a little harder, if he doesn't mind.
Go ahead.
I understand that you said you claim not to be an expert, but I understand that in your organization in BASF and places there, that you have identified groups of subject matter experts that kind of collaborate internationally, and maybe you could enlighten people a little, expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, we do. We have my organization, the actual name of the organization is, and it's a global organization, is Technical Expertise. And so we have assembled a large portion of our employees who have had years of experience in various areas, and it goes outside of process control and automation, but I'll talk about process control and automation. We got experts sitting right here in automation, security, and networking for BASF sitting at this table right here. We have, a section of our organization called Basic Automation Technology Services, and I have 4 guys that sit on my team. We collaborate with an additional 5 guys that are over in Europe region, and as well as 3 more guys that are over in Asia. So there's we call the organization GTG, but don't ask me what the letters stand for. I have no clue. But it's basically our acronym for our global engineering technical expertise organization. And BASF is just going under a change that was announced at the end of last year of this global organization concept. Before, we worked together fairly well in process control and automation, but now for me and my organization, we have a direct reporting line to our Vice President of Process Control, Automation, and Electrical, which is Andreas Wernsdorfer, who some of you may have met walking around here this week. So, yeah, it's an established organization.
Okay, we have a question over here. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is again to the group, I guess. A little bit more of a detailed question. Currently with Ignition, you need to use this web start thing. So you do need the Java applet loaded onto your individual devices. Are you looking forward to HTML5, Dominique? And so that you can do the same stuff from mobile devices or et cetera? Or is that just not come up as a requirement yet?
I think we could use also, already HTML, but it's a choice not to use it for the time being. Personally, let's say, I have a mechanical hat. I'm working also in the mechanical field. I like when things are simple. And I don't like to increase too much the dependency to external organization. It means, like, for example, in what we are doing now, we have a dependency just to the OPC UA communication protocol, to one software supplier, which is the Inductive automation, and the dependency to Java, and that's it. As far as I will include HTML5, I'm adding one level of dependency, which makes that in the future, let's say, the maintainability of the platform or the software will be a little bit more difficult to manage. And this work about architecture is to reduce the dependency to external things, reduce the number of servers, reduce the number of OS, etc. So HTML5, not yet for the moment. I would prefer, for example, if we are talking about a handheld device or tablets, to use a kind of a Linux flavor tablet with Java. Maybe Travis can elaborate on the possibilities of the platform. But I would do it like this rather than HTML5.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly a need. I mean, HTML5 is where the market wants to go, and as far as utilizing that technology to be able to, on all the devices that you have out there, whether it be your phone, whether it be a tablet, whether it be your PC, to have sort of a unified approach to that. I think there's still a purpose of having an actual rich application that you still have access to, and I think going forward we want to have both, right? We want to keep what we have currently as well as to address the HTML5 concern. But there are today, I mean, The iOS devices, the Android devices, they simply don't have the full JRE, which is what's required for Ignition right now. But going forward, I think as Java progresses their technology, as well as we progress, I think that need for a mobile device versus a PC, I think there's going to be there's no difference really. So with tablets out there now, you can get Linux tablets, you can get ones that run full Windows that are cheap. You can get like not necessarily this one, but Dell Venue is $300, and you can get Windows on there. It runs Java naturally. You can run any application naturally. You're not dependent on an iOS or Android device that just is strictly app based. So I think there's a potential there as well.
Okay, questions from the floor? We still have some time.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. I got a question. I think it's in line with the guy who couldn't be patient enough to wait for a mic. But just back to Dominique a little bit, and I wanted to ask you on the side over there. I didn't want to interrupt anything. As far as a process for when you're remoting in, you have a technical expert that's going to remote in to get data from one of the facilities. Do you have is there like a set known procedure where that guy has to contact a person at the site to get permission, or is there something automatically done where somebody's got to accept his remote access?
Not now. More or less, there is a concept of what I like is to use the plant staff for doing their job operations. I don't want to disturb them every 2 minutes. What I see in a lot of organizations is as soon as you need data, you will start sending a request for data and very nice Excel bunch of Excel files to fill. And this is exactly what I'm trying to battle. So it means to make the data of the factory available for whoever in the group, assuming the security or the guy is authorized to access this data. So by design, it's the opposite and what you suggest. But if you look in the end, it's for the good cause. Getting the guys in the factory to operate the factory, not to answer to requests from the business.
Okay, question over here.
My question is for Travis. Dominique's presentation, indirectly, you provided some pretty compelling examples of CapEx.
Could you talk into the mic a little bit more?
CapEx savings on implementing your solution. Is that something your company offers as assistance in analyzing, maybe from an ROI perspective, using this approach versus a traditional SCADA approach?
Yeah, I mean, we don't do that analysis directly, but certainly we have our business philosophy as well as our licensing philosophy of our software is something that allows companies like Lafarge to get the application of their dreams without having to worry about a huge expenditure just on software. Whereas they want a solution that's scalable so that they can actually go and be innovative themselves and not have any barriers allow them to do that. So we don't do that analysis directly. We let our end users and our customers do that analysis from what they're able to get out of the system, like what he's been showing today.
Actually, it's a good thing with this platform is I think until now we have not been limited. It's like anything you can dream, you do it. I mean, as a matter of example, we are in the process of rewriting a mining application, and we are doing 3D within the application. So it just works. I mean, another example is the voice chat system. We just had the idea, okay, how could we get the operator to discuss with the expert that is on the other side of the world? And say, oh, we need a communication. So we'll use what? The Cisco company reference or Skype or whatever. And finally we said, oh, we have already the local server, the local operator is a client, and the remote guy is also a client. So let's do something that works directly in the platform. Is it possible? Okay, we can do it. So
the big important thing is just to get data in more people's hands, right? To be able to get that application there and not have a huge barrier of installing and whatever operating system or whatever hardware they have existing is just sort of use what you have and sort of be able to get the data to people's hands so they can make those kind of decisions.
We have time for one more question if it's short. There we go.
Perhaps a loaded question, Harry, as you may know. So you talked about remote access into the factory and gathering, SCADA information for people, and Dominique, you spoke about letting people in the factory do their business. So I'm curious, you see a lot of these applications and the tools emerging on mobile devices now, tablets and smartphones. To me, that means that you're untethered. You're on this wireless network in some form. When people are in the factories, what's been your experience on the reliability and the security on the wireless infrastructure inside these facilities?
As I said, Lafarge is a pretty much old company. We are really good at doing a lot of things. We expand a lot. New technologies, in general, takes a little bit time to be implemented, so we don't have so much wireless equipment. It's, I would say, is rare. So maybe...
Yeah, Keith could answer that one pretty
I'm sorry, we're out of time. No.
No, you don't get off until you give at least a brief answer.
On wireless, we've had several instances where we've done wireless on our larger sites, actually in the Gulf Coast. Started in Port Arthur, where we did an evaluation. We did a lot of what someone asked there. I mean, we did a lot of testing around our industrial wireless. Some would say that I was very adamant about going a direction other than what our business IT organization did for wireless for the business land, and those someones would be very true. I did want to go in opposite direction, and we did do evaluation. That was our first pilot. We did a couple of guys, one of them possibly sitting in this room, did some penetration testing of that wireless system. We have a fear factor in my organization, technical expertise organization, with wireless right now, and in the ability to continuously keep it robust and secured. It hasn't stopped us from a company as far as rolling it out. A real good success story over at our Freeport, Texas site with the rollout of wireless stations for badge scanning. It's a safety issue. Basically, the rendezvous points have badge scanners where we can have accountability for every one of our employees that's on the Freeport site in any given situation. So real good success story there. We have also implemented from a security standpoint, fence line, basically fence line cameras monitoring the around. I mean, if y'all ever know where BASF's Freeport site is, we have the other chemical company that surrounds us, and we have to watch them closely because, they'll jump the fence and steal an exchanger. So we put the fence line cameras around, but and we experience a little bit of problems here and there. There's a lot of things to consider when you look at wireless infrastructure. We took a lot of time to try to really pick a partner company that we can depend on from the standpoint of at least having the base level of robustness and security in their system already. And we're still trying to grow it, to be honest. Our biggest problem, and I feel the eyes on this front table just glaring at me right now, because if I don't mention this, they'll probably hit me after this presentation. But our biggest challenge is we roll these wireless systems out, and having the sites that we roll them out on be able to sustain them and be able to maintain these things. There's a lot of connections, a lot of switches, and we just are struggling right now in getting those sites to have the infrastructure or to have the time, whatever the case may be, to be able to provide the personnel to maintain them. So that's a bigger struggle for us than anything. Now, we're not doing anything control-wise over wireless right now. We've got 802.15 down in the plant with some instrumentation on some remote vessels that we're monitoring, no control, and then the 802.11 for data collection that we have going on, and the stuff like wireless cameras and those remote badge stations.
Okay, thank you very much. Just add that we have some reports on some of Keith's plants, and let's thank this panel for a really excellent session.